What's happening, everyone, and welcome to Al Chile Boxing Talk, man. We just have a very nice little group here, and we're gonna talk about what happened over the weekend. Got the hired gun of Al Chile, Run PMC, and Georgie with Off the Ropes Boxing and MMA. And I hope to have a very special guest here very shortly to join us. And maybe Nopal will show up. What's happening, fellas?
What's going on, man? Good afternoon, guys.
Good
What's up?
afternoon, man. Well, we rescheduled this out Chile at least like 3, 4 different times, man. It's all about getting us together so we could talk. But you know what? I got a lot to say about Teofimo, as do the homies. But first, man, I guess we should talk about it. In a way, this morning, early in the morning, went undisputed. So congratulations to him. Georgie, you caught the fight, man. So please, dude, tell us what your thoughts were about the performance.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And yeah, man, I definitely caught that a little bit later than the usual time. So I think I was maybe about 45 minutes to an hour behind on actually catching it live. But I watched it. It's pretty much what you expected from Inoue. Complete domination. And not to take anything away from Butler, but Butler was definitely overmatched. I don't think he was prepared, or he probably had a game plan against Inoue, expecting something different. But it was a complete domination. It was what you see every time that Inoue, steps in the ring, undisputed, and man, it was a great performance. And I really don't know what to say about it.
Hey, Georgie, I don't know if you can hear me, brother, but you broke up right after you said that was a great performance. I really don't know. And then you kind of broke up, man. I don't hear anything now.
Go undisputed, but I think Butler may have bitten off a little too much than what he could chew. But it's boxing. It's kind of what you expect.
Yeah, dude, I heard it was pure survival mode, is what I heard.
Yes, it definitely was survival mode, anytime you step in there in a way, that's what you got to expect, and great footwork, hand speed, and he's really good. What I really do, what I'm really impressed with is how he cuts the ring off really well. Like he's always like a half step ahead of you, and he throws to where you're actually going to be standing at.
Mm. Well, I heard the fight's boring, but maybe I'll just check out the highlights. Like, run. Did you get anything from the highlights, brother?
It just looked like he was, excuse me, it just looked like he was teeing off from what I saw on the ESPN highlights. Like, he would just get him up on the ropes, bang away. And based on the comments and sort of just other videos I've watched, seems like that there wasn't much of a fight put up by the challenger Butler. So, or not challenger, but the because he was also a champion, but the B side Butler. If that's the case, then good for anyway. Time to move up then, because I know they always want to. If you clear out a division that might not have the most depth, then it's time to move up. Unless someone from a lower weight class is going to move up to challenge you, bitch. But I doubt that's going to happen. So it's time to move up and fight some guys 118.
Dude, I heard his intentions are to move up, man. And I think that's what he
Good.
should do. I'm trying to figure out what the division is above him and who's in it. I'm telling you, like, my knowledge goes at 130 pounds and up. Is anybody keen on that off the top of their heads?
I think it's Fulton is in there, I believe. I think like Fulton is a name that's always thrown out there that they want to see and face, and I agree that'd be a good fight to see. And he wanted to move up, but Butler insinuated that they that some. I mean, anyway, pretty much most of the bouts except whatever the bout Butler had.
Dude, it would be very impressive to see him move up and fight somebody like Fulton. And we're going to talk about it here, how difficult it is to actually go up in divisions and to beat the best in that division. So we'll see if he can do it. Run, you and I were making some comparisons over the phone between Inoue and Rigondeaux, and you were kind of making some good points. You want to shed any light on like kind of like how their career paths kind of reflect each other a little bit, and how you think Inoue's doing compared to how good Rigondeaux was back in the day for those who might not have been there in real time?
No, yeah, I think anyway is very good, and I was just saying that I would have liked to see what a prime like 2013 Rigondeaux would have done against an Inoue at like a present day Inoue, because he has his peak right now at 118. Because Rigondeaux fought at 122, but then he like almost 10 years, almost like 8 years after he moved down to 118. So it's like obviously he could have made 118 before. So I think that would have been a great one to see. And it's like their common opponent. I don't know. I haven't really looked deeply into Inoue's his box rack, but you could look at Nonito Donaire, which is probably Inoue's like hallmark performance, both of them so far. And outside the second fight, um, Rigondeaux, you could say, did much better in his performance against Nonito Donaire, and he did it much earlier as well. So when Nonito Donaire was sort of given that pound for pound like number one, number two ranking after his year in 2012, which was a good year, almost against mostly against aged guys, but still a very good year. But I would like to see. I wonder that'd be a good one if they mixed it up. Obviously you can't see that it's Rigondeaux is basically retired and done. Anyways, still active and still going. So I think that would have been a good match. I think that would have been a clash of styles. That would have been very interesting because I think Rigondeaux's his punching power is underrated, and I think you saw at the end of the Donaire fight that he had Donaire backtracking very hard because he hurt Donaire's eye. So it's be an interesting matchup.
Oh yeah, dude! I want to give a shout out to Lil Penny who's in the house, and he's saying that Inoue is the number one pound for pound fighter in the world. Do you guys agree with that? Number one?
It's tough, man. I would agree. He's definitely top three, maybe top two. I mean, especially how this year's been going with. I mean, if you keep up with a pound for pound list and who you're trying to rank, I mean, if you're trying to rank people, it's changed hands a lot, at least in the top five. Bivol, Usyk, some names coming up, some names dropping. So without even looking at the list, I mean, I would definitely say he's in the top three.
Um, I don't know. Uh, Maybe just because I don't follow the lower weight classes as much, but I necessarily probably wouldn't say he's number one. Obviously, it's hard because it's like, I guess the big thing would be like, do you include heavyweights in yours or do you not? And I would say if you did, Tyson Fury is number one. If you didn't, I'm leaning more towards Bivol because, but then again, no, not Bivol. Excuse me, not Bivol. Usyk, not Bivol.
Well,
Usyk.
hey, you know what? People think. Well, I do think Bivol's right up there. So,
Yeah,
but
and
yes, go
so
ahead.
then, all right. So if it was not because Usyk's a heavyweight, if it's not going to be, if you don't include heavyweights, if you include heavyweights, in my opinion, it's Fury, then Usyk, and then possibly Inoue, maybe Bivol. But I would say if it wasn't, I think Bivol's right there, and I would probably give it to him. And honestly, I'd probably give it to, even though I didn't really, we can talk about it later if we're talking about it, but I really think Terrence Crawford's still up there just because the his performances and the skill, even though I don't think the resume is all the way there. I just think there. And then, so I don't think so. I don't think number one. And that just might be me because I don't know that much about Inoue's career. But like I said, his hallmark victories against an old Nonito Donaire. Two of them,
Ooh.
but still. And he was life and death in that first one for a while. So,
Oof. Well, hey, it's hard to disagree with that, man. And we're just keeping it real. And we're just giving it to you out Chile. I want to give a shout out to Team Batman Boxing, who says, well, Inoue's definitely above Crawford and Spence, refusing to fight each other. I want to give a shout out to JC, who's in the house. And he thinks, yes, Inoue is definitely number one. So, yeah, man, that's what people think, dude. Very interesting takes. But, dude, I want to get to the main event of what was on the ESPN top rank card on Saturday. I want to talk about the takeover. Teofimo Lopez, man. And, this is a hot subject. There's a lot of opinions. Now, I want to know what you guys thought about the fight, and then we're going to get into everything else after that. Georgie, you had a chance to take a look at that fight, man. Tell me, like, who'd you have winning the fight and why? Like, what did you see as far as a clash of styles? What do you think about this idea that it was a robbery?
Okay. I know we had the show a couple last week, and we all gave our opinion and our prediction for the fight. And my prediction was that Teofimo was gonna struggle a little bit, and then towards the end, get it done. And that was just depending on if Teofimo can make those adjustments, being able to cut the ring off, and he didn't really make those adjustments for me. I thought he looked a little bit flat. hearing what some of the commentators are saying, that there's something still not quite there going. There's still something not quite there mentally. It seems like he's just trying to, trying to please so many people when he should be kind of looking within himself. And as far as the fight, I mean, it was a little flat for me. And if anything that came away with it for me is I think Sandor could definitely be a good opponent for anybody in that division at 140. And I wouldn't say he quite ran a lot. I think it was just more of him knowing that Teofimo would fall into his traps, and he did fall into his traps quite a bit. And then as for that second knockdown, I still think it looked like a second knockdown to me. And everybody's opinion was, oh, maybe it was a trip. Not everybody was quite sure exactly what they saw, but I feel watching it live, because that's obviously how it counts, right? It's live, and that's how they score fights. It's not like they score the fight and then 2 days later they're like, oh, by the way, you know what? I rewatched it and this is how I'm rescoring it. So trying to be fair, watching it live, I thought it was a knockdown, and that's how I would have scored it, but they called it a slip. I think if you do count that knockdown, I think you would have to give Sandor Martin the win. And it was just like kind of a flat performance. I think for me, I think it was a draw at best. I just wasn't really impressed with what I saw with Teofimo. And the thing is, it's not that Teofimo isn't good enough. I mean, he's definitely athletic. The power's there. And you could hear it in his dad's corner. His dad was asking for certain things in that fight. You didn't really see it too much. I don't know if you guys noticed. Oh, we did actually notice to say that right in our group chat that we seen his ex-wife in the corner there again. So I hope that doesn't have anything to do with it. But I think for me, like I said, I think a draw at best for me.
Okay, so a robbery then.
Um, there wasn't there. Of course, as always, there's always a bogus scorecard, right? No, I don't. I couldn't say complete robbery. I would just say a little bit more disappointment, more than a robbery. Of course, it's Teofimo, and I think they got big plans ahead for him. So I couldn't quite say a robbery. I mean, I just think it was a draw.
Well, that's true. You're not going to go into somebody's hometown, right, and get a decision, against the A side. But then again, he did that against Mikey. You know what I mean? That's all I got to say. So, Martin, was he going to do it twice? Was he going to pull it off twice? Well, it looks like he didn't. Okay, that was a lot of good stuff, George. A lot to unpack. So, you're talking about how Teofimo was flat, couldn't cut off the ring. Sandor's a good opponent, and we're also discussing the knockdowns. We could really go anywhere with this, but Run, what were your initial thoughts on that fight, man?
Uh, for Tio, I mean, my prediction was way off. I thought he was going to get the win within 6, but I know some people might not agree with what I say, but this is just how I feel about it. Is that I think he's just very one-dimensional. I mean, he's not really fighting differently than he fought against Lomachenko. He's just fighting different guys. And then outside of him fighting outside of like the first few rounds against Kambosos, where he's trying to get him out of there, he sort of fought the same way. And it was like I believed what they said about him having like he might still have had it in the Kambosos fight where he had the fluid in the stuff on his chest and in his lungs, and that might be so, but the performance wasn't that much different as well. I would say he performed much better against Kambosos, even though he got hit a lot more. He performed much better than this performance at 140, and I don't know. Um, Obviously, he still has the ability, but he needs to make some adjustments in his camp, to his team, just sort of to his mindset. Because even like it's been shown a million times now, but him questioning his ability at the end of his fight before it was red, like that's the first thing you need is the confidence and the belief in yourself, because he definitely hasn't looked very good in the last few fights, and I don't know what it is. It's just maybe they find out his style. He's a natural counterpuncher. He sort of leaps in, uses athleticism, and they're exposing that. As for the scorecards, I mean, I didn't score one round of this fight, but I was leaning towards Martin as a draw at worst. But obviously, we know the game. We know that Teofimo's the name. You know what's going to happen, and I think he sort of did get a gift. Um, I I just don't like if we talk about the criteria. we have the 4 scoring criteria, and since they're all considered equal based on what we have in the rules, not I know we know people emphasize obviously clean and effective punching and effective aggressiveness, and some people waver on the ring generalship, and defense for the most part isn't really taken into account. But since they are all on an equal playing, they're all in this equal grade. I think we have to. I think we have to score it in that manner, which might not be pleasing to us as fans, but we have to score it in that way. And in the absence of really true effective aggressiveness from Teofimo and from a clean effective punching from him, because it wasn't effective. He didn't really land that many clean. I think, granted, I said I didn't score. I would lean towards Martin with he was landing punches. Were they hard? No, but were they clean? I think some of them were clean. Yeah, the majority of them that he was throwing were clean. I think he imposed his style, which isn't a fan-friendly style, but we have to forget that if we're judging. He imposed his style, and he was able to control the ring, and he had good defense. Granted, people might say defense isn't running around the ring. Well, one might believe that, but if the way I look at it is like not defense is not being hit by a punch. That's your defense. Whether that's you're inside, like catching punches, rolling, whether you're on the outside, or whether if you're literally like if you were to run around the ring, literally run around the ring, and you were to land punches on your guy and hurt him, or land your clean and effective punches, and you're literally sprinting around the ring the rest of the time, he can't catch you. Basically, the ref's going to tell you to stop. But if the ref didn't do that, you could do that, and then that would be effective, wouldn't it? Right. So it's just something to think about.
Rigo style, just how you like it, Run.
No, I'm not. No, don't get me started, man. Don't get me started with Donaire only got the knockdown because he elbowed him in the throat. Let's be real. Let's be real.
Little Penny, do you agree with that? I want to know what your thoughts are on Nonito Donaire, getting credit for a knockdown that maybe he shouldn't have. But I will say, man, Rigo, he was a runner, man, towards the end of his career, dude. His pictures of him turning around and running.
Definitely towards the end, but I'm talking about like the prime, like 2011, 2015-ish time, when literally the whole division moved up. Abner Maris, Leo Santa Cruz, who else? Scott Quigg, Carl Frampton. They all decided to take other fights and fight each other or move. So that's why Rigondeaux was over in Japan getting fights.
Hey, man, no doubt about it. He was a bad, bad man back in the day. Very impressive fighter. Little Penny says here, no, Donaire knocked down Rigo fair and square. Well, you know what? I'm going to have to watch that myself and come to a conclusion. And as far as Teofimo having been knocked down twice, well, some people say twice, by Sandor Martin. All I got to say is this, man. If you're talking about the rules, what the books say, yes, you could consider them knockdowns, but I don't think that people need to be scared of Teofimo's chin at 140. Like, I don't think he was being like put down. To me, it was more of him just unable to get to Martin, and Martin kind of taking those nice half steps, and just kind of catching Teofimo off balance and kind of just winging him. I think that Teofimo could have been knocked down even if he had been grazed by like a forearm or something like that. Like, I don't think these were like quote unquote like clean punches that put Teofimo down, right? But if you count the knockdowns, that's fine. But like, let's say we're scoring the fight based on what the ref says, and the ref says, okay, there was one knockdown in this. Like, I still have Teofimo winning this fight. I did not score this round by round, right? But I thought he did very good early. I also thought he closed very well in that last round. On top of that, too, Run, and that you and I just view how we score differently based on how we scored the Canelo versus Lara fight, et cetera, et cetera. But like when I think about defense, I think about defense in range because I'm there to see engagement. If somebody's outside of the pocket for an extended amount of time, like to me, that's running. I'm here to see defense in the pocket, even if it's long range, but this idea that like Sandor Martin could just come into Madison Square Garden, right, where the crowd is paying good money to see a fight, right, to just wait on Teofimo to make a move, wait, keep waiting, right, wait some more, and then when Teofimo strikes, for him to counter and then run around and reset. Dude, that's bad for the sport, man. Like, that type of performance should not be rewarded. If you had two Sandor Martins in the ring, like, nobody would watch that, nobody would care. Like, is Sandor Martin going to have like these group of enthusiasts that are going to root for him from now on? I doubt it. You could put all these like, I'm not talking about you, Ron, but you could put all these like, back foot purists or whatever you want to call them. These people who think that like, oh, this is real good boxing. Like, and I think the word boxing has been hijacked by people like that too. But I mean, if you put them all in a group, they still ain't worth the shit in my opinion. They're not going to pay the bills in this sport. We're there to see a fight. We're there to see people like Teofimo Lopez who are there to make the fight. Teofimo Lopez was trying to make the fight. And this is kind of the reason why, and Lil Penny can attest to this, when we went back and did the Pacquiao versus Marquez rescores, I was giving more credit to Pacquiao than anybody else, I think, who was rescoring, because he was the one making the fight. Marquez would wait on Pacquiao to come in, so it was up to Pacquiao to make the fight. But at least Marquez was in the pocket, countering, ready to trade, ready to stand his ground. Martin wasn't really doing that all that much. It made for a stinker. I mean, nobody's ever going to watch that one again, in my opinion. So I'm glad that Teofimo Lopez won this fight. Like, we shouldn't be rewarding people like Sandor Martin, who's acting like he did something glamorous. Like, if we just give every big time decision to fighters like that, dude, the sport is going to be in even in a worse state. I'm telling you guys. So that's just how I feel. Like, I definitely don't think it was a robbery. I want to give a shout out to Sly Tendencies, who's in the house. Nice to see you, man. He says he thinks Teofimo and Martin both took the fight on short notice. Also, people must have never heard of Sandor Martin. The guy's a great boxer and could beat anyone at 140. I was fine with the draw. All right, fair enough, man. And he says people also need to remember that Teo isn't a judge. He can't control any of the decisions made by the commission. I didn't think he handled the post fight well, but it's not his problem. All right, well, yeah, man, let's get into the post fight. So everybody saw that video where he's asking himself out loud and to the people around him if he still has it anymore. And you guys have already made some great points regarding the fact that Teofimo really couldn't cut off the ring. Also, he was technically knocked down, a bit one-dimensional, and couldn't make adjustments. And you know what? I agree with all that. Like, I had Teofimo winning this fight, and I'm glad it went that way. But yeah, he had a lot of issues, and a lot of issues he needs to clean up. And we're also talking about distractions outside of the ring. Now, I like to listen to Teofimo interviews, and I've been listening to his interviews, like, I think even before the Comey fight, when he was kind of doing those dances after he would knock out people. So I've been following him for a while. And so he's always talking great in the lead up to a fight about how his mind's right and all that stuff, right? And he even said in this one, like, oh, this was my best camp, things are good with my wife again, da da da. I really don't know if they've reconciled, but at least they're on good terms, right? And she can show up to his fights. Now, I think there's a lot of work that can be done with Teofimo Lopez. So I want to know, like, what you guys think. Is Teofimo being counted out too early? Like, some people are saying that he's peaked, right? That these are issues that he can't fix. That his power isn't going to be any good at 140. That he can't make adjustments. He's going to be food for Prograis. He's going to be food for Taylor, right? I mean, a lot of strong opinions are coming out when, just remember, this guy used to be a badass. When he beat Lomachenko, people thought this dude was the man. No longer. People think that, hey, man, his time on top might be over. Georgie, what do you think about all that, man?
Yeah. I mean, when with boxing, I believe it's all styles. I know after the Martin fight and then after the Lomachenko fight, I think it probably left people a little confused of why that happened that way. But again, Martin and Lomachenko uh, are two different styles. Martin uses his footwork more, and I agree. I wouldn't call it running. It's more using his footwork, traps. Lomachenko is more in the pocket. He slips. He uses angles, so he's a little closer, and he's there. He's in the pocket. He's not afraid. And not that Martin is afraid either, but and that style I think was better for Teo when he fought Loma, because you know usually for these guys at that division, like obviously they look at the top of the food chain and they're kind of sizing themselves up against these guys, and I think everybody that was at 135 of course had their eyes set on Loma. So I think that preparing, of course, with all these fights that they kind of have like this mindset, especially the guys in the top 10 or top 5 are like, all right, if I ever get to Loma, this is how I would do it. So they study this guy to see how he is, and I think Teofimo, studied it right. It was just the right time, right place, right time for Teofimo. Um, it's hard to say if he peaked or not, but I think like Run hit it on the head. He says that he thinks that he's a bit one dimensional, and I could see he's a bit one dimensional, but I still think he's pretty athletic, and I think if he had somebody that sat in the pocket a little bit more and didn't use all 4 corners of the ring, then I think we would of course see some kind of a highlight from it. But I don't want to take anything away from Martin either. Maybe he does have a little bit of pop on him. He sets up his boxing really well. So it gave Teofimo some issues. Now, as far as Teofimo and the top against the top guys like the ones we just mentioned against Regis and against Josh Taylor, I think those two guys, of course, would be a nightmare. I think for Teofimo, I think I think he should take someone on like a Jose Ramirez or even a Pedraza. You know, get a good confident win out of the way, and then work on some things. Go back to the drawing board. I do think his dad should either step aside or have somebody else come into the camp. Because I remember last year there were talks of Teofimo joining Team Reynoso. So I don't know what changed or if that was just just to throw stuff out there in the social media. But they definitely need to do something different. And I don't want to quite tap, I don't want to quite say that Teofimo's done and that he can't improve. He's still very young, so there's definitely some room for improvement. But I don't think he should go after the guys like a Josh Taylor or Regis Prograis quite yet. I think he should go the way he was going, against a Pedraza or he beats Pedraza, then go after Jose Ramirez because then you're kind of working your way back up. And this is Senator Martin's second time on television in the U.S., so we kind of get a feel for what Martin could bring to the table.
I mean, hey, as long as I'm not paying for it, I guess, if he was
Hey,
in Tucson,
true.
would you go check him out, bro?
What happened?
If Martin was in Tucson fighting, would you go check him out?
I would say it just depends on who his opponent is. I mean, it wasn't like he completely stunk up the joint. I just think it's just in boxing you got to have that dancing partner. I don't think Teofimo really did anything well.
Hey, fair enough. I want to give a shout out to Mad Dog H, who's in the house. JC's back, and 92 AKU Caballero here says that he's not that dude. Got dropped by Martin. Well, nobody technically disagrees with that. I think everybody agrees he got dropped. Knocked down, like a technical knockdown. I don't know about dropped. Drew Evo is in the house, and I want to give a special shout out to Philly Irish, Drew Evo from the Shoe Shine, who's in the house, man. And bro, hey, man, you were cooking last night. We're glad that you're here, man, because you know what? I'll tell you, my homies Georgie and Run PMC, they're in complete agreement with you about the fact that, hey, they think that this was a gift decision. They also think that Teofimo was one-dimensional. They think that he can't cut off the ring, right? And was unable to make adjustments, man. So, you'll be preaching to the choir if you say all that, man. But tell us really quickly what you thought about that fight, man. And then also tell us, man, I want to know what you think, bro. Has Teofimo peaked? Can he make adjustments?
Well, I gotta say, it's unanimous other than you, Chicano. You're like the lone dog of this.
No, Paul just came in. He's gonna back me up here in a second. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
he probably is now. I got back to college, right? But hey. But all right. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. I thought it was a bad. I thought it was a boring fight. I felt bad for everybody. Like I said, I felt bad for everybody that was at ringside watching it and everything. Like it wasn't running. It was if you can't call circling the opponent around running. But at the same time, if he's running, your job is to cut the fucking ring off, and you did it. You couldn't cut the ring off. And here's the part that not a lot of people bring up, and I brought it up last night on the Shoe Shine, that every time he will go in to punch Sander Martin, his non-throwing hand will be down like this towards his waist. And every time he will go in, he will get pop shot or he will get just countered. And everything. There was a couple of times Sandor Martin countered him and got a good pop off of him. And that's gonna be and that's like something that you can't really do against somebody that's more power to them and everything. He's lucky he didn't have more pop to his punches. That it could have been disaster, but it was a very undisciplined tactic, and he kept doing it. And the other thing was, he like one PMC and George said, he couldn't cut the ring off. Here's the thing: when you're fighting a pure boxer, the main thing you gotta do is be able to cut that ring off, because pure boxers love to use that ring for the offense and the defense. And the thing about it is, fighting someone like Lomachenko, a guy that he's bigger than and everything, he was able to somewhat bully him a little bit in the early part of the fight until it got to the midway point. Then Lomos woke up a little too late, but it got to the point that there was a blueprint on how to beat Teofimo. And Cambosis exploited a little bit, got into his head, and to Teofimo's head too, mostly. But then this was a matter of mental and physical ability, because tell you the truth, mentally, he's not over the Cambosis loss. He still thinks he didn't lose that fight and everything. He's still delusional as hell. And if a guy that does not accept defeat and does not accept that he needs to work on some stuff and everything, is a guy that's not really going to go anywhere else in his career. Like I said before, once he beat Lomachenko, he thought, oh, I just got a Hall of Fame career by beating Lomachenko, because at the time he was the number one pound for pound fighter. And then after that, he won a belt, and then he won the rest. He won the belts and everything. Then he claimed to be undisputed, which he wasn't undisputed, because the franchise belt don't mean shit and everything. And he thought, oh, I'm an undisputed champion. I got a Hall of Fame career now and everything. And he felt like he didn't have to accomplish anything else. And no one could beat him until he got brought back to reality by Joe's Cambosis, a guy that had no business beating Teofimo. I'll tell you that right now, he should have got knocked out within 5 rounds, and he did it. But this was a bad look. He did a lot of things wrong. Sandor Barton just showed a lot more how to beat Teofimo and what's this guy's nasty habits are, because tell you the truth, he always had this nasty habit of when he goes in with a punch, he leaves his now throwing hand down and he pays for it every time. And guys like Regis Prograis, Jose Ramirez, Josh Taylor are going to exploit that, and they're going to easily beat Teofimo. And I'll tell you the truth right now, he's mentally out. He's mentally done. And the worst part is, man, he's getting paid $3 million a fight now, possibly, to fight all these fights. And Bob Adams going to have to look at it like this. I can't keep paying him $3 million to fight these lackluster opponents. I'm going to have to eventually get my investment and put him up against one of these guys. And the smart move, like I said yesterday, was to put him against Josh Taylor, because he promotes Josh Taylor also. And you're going to make money off both guys. So why not match him up with Josh Taylor? Even though he's going to get his ass kicked by Josh Taylor. Because if you match him up with Prograis is going to beat him too. Or Jose Ramirez. But I really believe that this Teofimo gets stopped by Prograis and Josh Taylor. And I just really think if he does suffer a knockout loss at this stage, and the way that he's mentally is right now, you're never going to get him back.
Damn, Drew. Well, I guess I could say that I was expecting that from you. And I'm happy, when I brought you on, I thought, okay, this is going to add a little bit of balance. But I had to bring Nopal on, to counter the 3-on-1 that was going on. Nopal, you heard this all, man. It looks like Teofimo has got nowhere to go, bro. He can't cut off the ring. He can't make adjustments. He's flat-footed. He's getting knocked down. Maybe even has no power, 140 pounds. What do you have to say to all this, man?
Well, there is light at the end of the tunnel. He's pretty young, and I do agree with some of what Drew said. You know what I mean? And it seems like if he starts taking responsibility for things that have happened, maybe we can get somewhere. You know what I mean? But what I'm not gonna do is kick the man while he's down right now. And we were able to see that he's vulnerable in there. He was saying stuff like, do I still got it? Because I'm pretty sure he expected to knock out Martin. And I think he could have knocked him out if he would have gave us round 12 from, if he would have started that from round 8 or 9, championship rounds, maybe round 10, 11 and 11. 10. Well, that's true, huh? It was only a 10-round fight. But had he started that earlier, 8, 9, and 10, he would have probably gotten Martin out of there, because we did see that the other guy was trying to survive, So I personally thought it was a draw, and I'm happy that they allowed Teofimo to win this one because I fucking hate the way the other guy fights, man. I just don't have any appreciation for this coward Spaniard style of fighting, bro, that these guys bring to the table. I just got no appreciation for these guys, man. And I'm glad that they gave it to Teofimo. Am I biased? Yeah, sure I am. You know what I mean? Am I allowed to do that? Hell yeah, I am. And yeah, well, what I heard from Drew is, like he said, he's got to take responsibility for certain things that like his loss to Cambosis, things like that. I think that's where it starts, and possibly, um, they were saying also that he's not really listening to his dad in there, you know. So why would he even listen to another coach? So he's got to start listening either to his dad or get another coach altogether that he respects and part ways that way. You know what I mean? Doesn't mean that that's not still going to be his dad, because that'll always be his father. But does he have to be his boxing trainer? Maybe not, man. We're in the big leagues now. You did what you had to do to get your son through the amateurs and win a win from Lomachenko. But I think you got to start allowing yourself to be helped, where you need help. He has to understand that he needs some kind of help, some kind of guidance, from professionals.
Oh yeah, dude. Drew, you want to say something? And after that, we'll go to Run.
Just for the record, I had Sandor Martin winning 6-4 with a 10-8 round.
Was it a robbery?
That's pretty fair, man. I gotta say, Drew, for you, that's pretty fair, man. And I know that a lot of guys are just trying to prove themselves right when they make a prediction, but you know what I mean? I appreciate you being honest like that, because you could have lied like other people we know and said, no, I had this fucking 7-3 or some bullshit like that. You know what I mean?
Tell me about it. I heard a 7-3 call for Teofimo. How the fuck can you give him a 7-3 fight when he barely just threw one punch at a time the whole fucking time, and he got fucking countered often, and he really looked horrible. So how the fuck can you give a 7-3 card to Teofimo when he looked horrible, and this guy made him look bad? And it was a combination of him looking bad, him on his own, and Sandor Martin making him look bad. And I just don't get how somebody can think this was a comfortable 7-3 fight win for Teofimo, because this was indeed not this was a horrible fight. And tell you the truth, this was a fight, in my opinion, he should have lost. And I think a lot of people thought he should have lost this fight. And he should thinking this fight was a top rank fight and not a DAZN card or a fucking independent card, because in my opinion, I think he got gifted a decision and something. He was almost could be in a crossroads fight if he didn't win this fight.
Oh man. Okay, so Run, you and I have talked about what Teofimo could do to improve, and we've also talked about how athletic Teofimo is, and I still think he's got a lot of potential, man. When I see Teofimo like skip rope, man, I'm telling you, he's probably one of the best like rope skippers there is. He's extremely athletic. He might not know how to use his leg, but I still think this guy has youthful energy. I still think he has pop at the 140-pound division. I think he's still got a lot of potential. I don't think we've seen the last of Teofimo Lopez. Now, back in the day, you and I have also watched fighters like Victor Ortiz, right, who had a lot of promise, who didn't necessarily pan out, right? But I would say that Teofimo's already done more than Victor Ortiz. That Lomachenko win, that nice clean win that Teofimo had over Lomachenko, is going to age very well. But, I think that he's stronger than Victor Ortiz mentally. Run, dude, tell me what your thoughts are based on like what you see from Teofimo Lopez. Can he be molded? Do you think he's peaked? What are your thoughts?
I definitely don't think he's peaked, but just because he has the ability doesn't mean he'll utilize it in the ring, because his mental game's gone. Like Drew said, like he's questioning himself. He's not even his dad's his trainer. He's not listening to his dad, not doing any of that stuff. When I after the weigh-in, which we both noted that he still looked sort of drawn out at the weigh-in, even going up 5 pounds. But they asked him straight up about how much sparring he did for this, and he was sort of dancing around, and then he said, 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks. So he doesn't know. So I bet he didn't spar that much for this camp again. So it just more of comes down to like his mental game. It seems like his personal life is really doing the whole thing. That being said, I do think he has a lot of ability. He just needs to get the right coach, whether it's I've said this like many times, whether it's him doing like what the Porters did, Kenny Porter, Sean Porter, going from gym to gym, learning different things and implementing them, or bringing in like a real trainer, like a big time trainer as like a second, like Sean Porter did with like Kevin Cunningham, Barry Hunter, bringing in guys that could mold him, or just pulling the ripcord and just going full on at a new gym by himself, flying solo. So I don't know. I think he has a lot of ability, but more and more, like I said yesterday, I think he's looking more and more. Granted, they're not exact same styles, but very athletic. Maybe not deliver their punches correctly and really rely on their athleticism to like an Andre Berto type now. That's what he's looking like to me.
If I say something real quick,
Go for it, brother.
You know what? This is a similar story to Victor Ortiz. I'm gonna say it right now. The only thing that hasn't happened yet, the motherfucker hasn't credit on the stool multiple times. That's of like, you know, simple shit. But like,
yep.
He had Victor Ortiz had a signature win at the time. It was against a really good at the time Andre Berto and everything. And this was supposed to skyrocket his career, Diamond Mayweather fight and everything. And people were actually rooting for him to beat Mayweather and everything. He kind of gave Mayweather a little bit of trouble until like headbutt bullshit, and he got sucker punched and everything. But this is really heading towards that route with Teofimo and everything, because they actually had the same promising upbringing if you look at it and everything. Like, a lot of people thought Victor Ortiz was going to be the next great thing in boxing. They somewhat said that about Teofimo after he beat Lomachenko. And now what happens? The mental shit happens. The breakdown happened. His first loss happens. Like, this could go the same way. I just hope it doesn't, because if this dude quits on a stool during a fight, I'm going to be like this. God damn, it's Victor Ortiz all over again. Like, what's he going to do? Get on the next Suspenders Bros movie?
Yeah, and the thing that Teo doesn't have that Victor Ortiz has is the power. He doesn't have the natural power like Victor. Like, we've touched on the show, but Robert Garcia said all the weight classes Victor Ortiz like had the most power he ever felt when he held the pads for him. And he does, and Teofimo doesn't have that. He has his strength is his athleticism, but then he doesn't know how to use it properly. Like, you see like Drew said, like all these fundamental holes he has in his game. And it's amazing he's made it this far without being like, if he were to face a guy that has some sort of pop, I don't know, that could actually like counter off him. Like, if you faced a Progress, I don't even know what would happen at this point.
Dude, that's true. You know, he was starting to get an eye already, bro, like a puffy eye against Martin. And you know what? I was also thinking to myself, you know, Teofimo's pretty lucky that Sandor Martin had a broken nose early on in that fight. Who knows how that fight would have looked if Sandor Martin, you know, and obviously Sandor Martin did very well with that nose, kind of busted, but I mean, he might have been a better version of himself had that not happened early. But you know what, like, man? I really agree. Like, you know, he's got holes, bro. Like, you know, I hate the way Teofimo just acts like the ref needs to break up a clinch. Like, he's totally helpless when a guy comes in and clinches him and gets a little rough. Like, he has like a little defensive clinch that he does, and he just kind of looks at the ref. Like, he doesn't know how to get gritty, even though like he seems to be a very like physically strong young man, but he doesn't really know how to utilize it like Victor Ortiz. Victor Ortiz did know how to utilize his strength.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. Oh, go Drew. Sorry.
Oh, man. Like, well, here's the thing, man. These guys are bigger, and he's facing bigger guys now. Like bigger weight class, bigger guys in general. And like, this is like, even though Sandor Martin wasn't a big puncher and everything, this was a bigger guy, and it actually really got to him a little bit, because he was able to have the clinch moments and everything. He was able to really make it hard with his size against Teofimo, because this is actually, if you look at it, the first pure boxer that's actually an inch, like at least an inch taller than him and everything too. So this could be really somebody to look at this and say, hey, I can box him because I'm bigger than him. I can box him a little bit, and then in the later rounds take him out. And I think that's how Josh Taylor beats him. I think Regis Prograis will just bully him and in the late rounds knock him out. Like, I just don't see it. I see him beating these guys.
Would you guys think that this was some pretty bad mismanagement? I mean, we just saw how this guy performed versus Mikey Garcia. So, and even Martin said after his fight, he's like, Teofimo ain't no Mikey Garcia. What I'm saying by that is, on the late replacement, I wonder who allowed this to happen even, you're not even practicing for that style. And I think, for me, I think that type of style is a little too early on for Teofimo to face, like I'm wondering why they even put him with him, bro.
You look at it like this. They look at the Loma fight when they looked at this fight. Because
But Loma wasn't even on the back foot, Drew. Why would they even look at that fight? He was kind of on it, but he'd come back.
Because it's mismanagement. Also, they're going to think of the Loma fight, that how he was able to handle Loma early on in the fight and everything, in his fight with Loma. And they're going to say, oh, he should be able to beat Sandor Martin easy. But no, it fucked him. It fucked up for them and everything. They didn't take it that, hey, Sandor Martin is bigger than him. And how Sandor Martin really fights and everything. Sandor Martin's a smart-ass fighter. And he's a bigger fighter than Teofimo. So they didn't participate that this was going to be a problem for him, and it backfired on him. So you can say it's mismanagement, but the thing about it is, you're kind of glad it happened if you're top weight, because you now know what you got to do for future fights for him. Because you're overpaying the dude now.
I don't even think he makes that much money, though, Drew.
I know, Drew. You checking Teofimo's pockets.
You're overdoing it, bro. He don't make any money, okay? So
no, he had made at least $1.5 million on this fight.
Hey, if you beat Loma, you get the bag, man.
Which, to be honest, you can tell that they spend a lot of money on promoting Teofimo. So I don't think he makes that much money, because most of the money he makes, they probably use to promote him.
But here's the thing: they know now what can they do with him and everything. And if they're gonna promote him, if they're gonna do they're gonna have to do a big fight to make money off this, because now they realize, hey, he's very vulnerable. Let's try to make a Josh Taylor fight right now. And for the person and for somebody say in the chat, talking about Josh Taylor and everything, he beat Jose Ramirez comfortably, and he knocked him down twice and could have stopped him. And you can't if you don't call that a good win against a boxer, I don't know what the hell you watching. I'm sorry, but that wasn't that was a comfortable win and everything for Josh Taylor. That was possibly Josh Taylor's best win, other than the good decision that he got for Prograis, in my opinion. But other than that, I think you get Josh Taylor and you match him up with Teofimo, and you make the most money you can, because he's gonna wind up, if he's like this still, he's gonna wind up losing within the next couple of fights, depending on who you match him up with.
Hey, Drew, I wanted to ask you something, though. Did you approve Teofimo Sr.'s instructions in there this time?
Hell no. Do you look at my name on my thing? He owes me a drink.
Well, it is amazing what Senior was able to do with Junior to bring him up to this level, but I think it's time to hand him off. And if he has love for his son and he doesn't have that much of an ego, man, I mean, they should both just come to an agreement that they need to try something else. Just like Robert and Ruben Guerrero, there was a point where they said, okay, well, let's try it out. You go to somebody else. They should check their egos, check their loyalty to each other. And, it should be a family decision. Like I say, get back to fundamentals. I think that Teofimo does have potential, but he's going to need to learn how to get on the inside of these taller, longer guys, and who are going to have more power when they throw at him.
And you know what, Chicano, he can still manage his career. He just doesn't, he doesn't have to be the trainer, right? And, plus with this is, if I was Teofimo, I'd be like, look, Dad, you could actually have fun at the fight and drink as much as you want. You know what I mean? That might be a big incentive for Senior to just sit his ass down and, you know what I'm saying, and not be the trainer.
No, Paul, I would not let him near my career, because tell you the truth, if you make him a manager, he's going to get involved in it with the trainer and everything. And it's going to be a disaster. I wouldn't even let him be a part of my career, but I'll give you a good trainer for Teofimo. And I think he'll actually do some wonders for him if Senior lets it happen and Senior stays out of it. Freddie Roach.
Nah, I'd say Robert Garcia probably, man, or Freddie Roach is good too.
I think Freddie Roach is a better fit. It fits Teofimo style better than Robert Garcia's.
Yeah,
And
they're
Yeah, I
everything.
probably both.
agree.
I'd say they're comparable,
Freddie
but yeah,
Roach.
maybe. But I think they'd both be good trainers. It's whoever they feel comfortable with, right?
Yeah, but he has bad habits that he can't get out of, and like I just don't really know how well this is going to end, because tell you the truth, this is a bigger weight class. These are bigger guys he's fighting now, and they got more pop than they did at 135 and everything. He's gonna one of these guys are gonna make him pay for coming in with his hands down, and it really may end in a knockdown or a bad knockout. The way it's gonna go, depending on who he fights and everything. Like, reason why he was able to catch Comey, because they were both going in for a punch, and Teofimo got there first. So he's not gonna get lucky every time with that punch, but I'm just saying, there's too many bad habits he hasn't broken out of yet, and he's still young to get out of those habits. But time's wasting because his dad, all he is a freaking glorified hype man.
He's got to
No.
change his nickname to the Reinvention, huh?
No, he has to change his nickname to the
Refurbished?
fucking Bend Over.
Hey, so real
Reboot,
quick,
huh? Reboot.
read the reboot. Real quick, what do you guys think? How the Pedraza fight would have turned out?
Oh, that's a good question. You know,
I
I
think
think
Teofimo would have knocked his ass out, bro.
that's what I think, man. And you know, in hindsight's 2020, man. Like, okay, we're sitting here saying that this fight was stylistically very bad for Teofimo, but you know, Drew's the only one to really pick the upset. I think maybe I heard one other guy in the YTBC pick an upset. I think everybody thought Teofimo was going to win pretty comfortably, right? But I mean, I'll tell you this too: the odds were quite wide. It was like a 7-1 difference, right? I mean, so Sandro Martin was a heavy underdog, right? And I think he's going to be the only one around the 140-pound division who can do that kind of style and cause Teofimo frustration. I think that Prograis, he's really good at kind of getting in and out of range, but he's good at fighting on the inside. I think he's good at banging it out. But he can also keep distance and long range. And dude, he's like, I want to say, like, you know, I know that they're listed like only a couple inches difference. There's probably at least like a 3-inch difference. Like, Prograis isn't all that short. He was actually pretty close to Taylor in height, who's pretty damn tall. I mean, Taylor's taller than Crawford. You know what I mean?
He also moved too. So
He's a mover, you know. I think that Teofimo would have a better shot at beating somebody like Taylor, even though I would favor Taylor probably at this point. I think he should probably revisit the Kambosos fight, maybe do a rematch against Kambosos, bring Kambosos up, you know, and like you were saying, Run, you know, he looked weird at 140. Like, he looks like he didn't look filled in. He looks kind of lanky, you know. Like, I think he needs a complete new team. Including a new entourage. I'm willing to be part of his entourage if he wants good people around him. Georgie, Nopal, and Run, and Drew can all vouch for the fact that I'm a good person, right? Also, if Spence is looking for a driver, I'm willing to do that too.
Oh shit!
Jesus, Chicano.
You promised to be sober, Chicano? No.
Yeah,
Of course, man. But
You can
as
have a
long as he'll let me,
breathalyzer in that vehicle.
You're not allowed to take liquor from Senior.
all I'm saying is, you know, I'd like it. You know, if Teofimo was single, that'd probably be better because I could roll with him. You know what I mean? He could get the ladies.
Yeah.
But if he's trying to make good with his wife, that's all right. That could be good too. You know what I mean?
With his wife.
Hey, and you know what? Fucking, there's some people out there just hating on his wife, bro. And I'm like, dude, why are you
Yes.
talking about his wife? And you know,
His
they're like,
wife's bad as shit.
His
you-
son and everything. Huh?
That's what I
Talking all
think,
this
dude.
shit.
Yeah, they're calling her. I agree with Drew. They're calling her ugly and all that shit. I'm like, why does that? First off, I don't know why that matters. You know, I've
You
never
know
gone
what?
my way
You know
to
what?
call a woman ugly, but I think she's bad too, man. I
You
think
know
she's a
what,
pretty
man?
lady. That's what I think.
You know what? I will make her scream God in 5 different languages.
Oh, here we go,
Drew.
Drew. Come on, bro.
Oh,
That's still
man.
Fimo's wife, bro.
Drew's a big talker, man. A big talker. So God, Dios, Allah. That's all I got. I don't think I know how to say God.
Hey, I
in
know how
any
to
other
say God in French.
Sacre bleu. No, that's wait.
Soccer blue.
I don't know, man. I don't know how. Hey, Run. Do you have any other languages you know off the top of your head?
No idea. No idea.
Oh man. All right.
I got you guys off plate. Huh?
Does anybody have any final thoughts on this before we talk about Terrence Crawford and what we saw with him in Omaha, Nebraska? All right, man. Well, let's get to it, dude, real quick. I'd love to know what you guys thought about Terrence Bud Crawford's performance, man. He had it was a knockout victory. I had some initial thoughts when I saw that fight. When I saw it at first, bro, I thought that Terrence Crawford didn't look that great. I was sitting there thinking, okay, well, his speed's not there. I don't see any power. He's getting punched a lot. But you know what? at the end of it all, dude, I think he was probably just playing a little bit of possum because they made the move to switch out his gloves after the next round, and Crawford decided to wrap it up early, and he just put Avanesian on his ass and knocked him out cold, man. What a performance. Dude, let's start with you, Drew, since you're here, bro, the honored guest, man. Tell us what you thought of that performance, and do you think that he's still on track to beat Errol Spence should they match up?
Glove Gate 2.
Oh, yeah, talk about the glove gate too, man. Go ahead. I thought I have my own thoughts on that, like, and I want to hear what all you all have to say about that too.
Nah, it's just funny, man. This shouldn't be a Glove Gate 1. These more like, if you look at it like this, man, anybody see the picture of Kell Brook for Errol Spence, how fucking Errol Spence glove bent? So that takes Glove Gate 1 out the window. These LDBC motherfuckers just need to shut the fuck up already about that. But you know what, man? I really, it was a top 10 watch weight and everything. I expected a late round knockout. I was wrong by like 4 rounds, but it did happen. But tell you the truth, I picked him to beat Errol Spence and everything. I don't think he beats. I don't think Errol Spence beats him, and I think Errol Spence ducked him. Because tell you the truth, in my opinion, if you want to make this fight and everything, you'll tell Uncle Al, do whatever you gotta do, make this fight, give him all the fuck he wants and everything. And when Terrence Crawford, BRK Prime, offer you $25 million guaranteed to fight him, he said, I gotta talk to Uncle Al. I knew it was a duck, so fuck Errol Spence. And people need to stop saying that, it's Terrence Crawford's fault and everything, because it's not Terrence Crawford's fault, man. Terrence Crawford is, tell you the truth, he's top 5 pound for pound. He's not the pound for pound number 1 fighter. That's for sure. And people just need to really stop with that. Really stop.
All right, Run. What do you think, brother?
No, I picked him within 6. I barely got that right, but that was more of a generic guess from my part. But I don't know. Looking back on it, because when I was watching, I'm like, Terrence Crawford's looking not looking very good. But it's like you said, it was probably just getting work in since he'd been off for a while, and just getting some rounds in, banking them in. And when he wanted to take him out, he took him out. And props to Avanesian for actually going out there and trying to put up somewhat of a fight. But I don't know. I mean, Terrence Crawford, I hope we don't see Broner next for him. I really hope so. I hope he fights someone good. But Terrence Crawford said he's a free agent too, so hopefully we get something good. But I don't know. He's sort of at like a roadblock in his career, because it's like, are you going to go try to negotiate again with PBC and those guys? Or are you going to try to go run back to Top Rank and try to do something? Or what other guys are there? DAZN? But what guys at 147 do they have at the DAZN right now?
Man, good question. I know you got to get out of here, Run. So 2 questions, man. I want to know what you thought about Glove Gate 2.0, and then also what you think about Crawford going up to face Jermell Charlo for Undisputed.
With the Glove Gate, I mean, I think they should have been changed out. Obviously, I don't think there was any like legitimate foul play. I mean, it's weird that the commission didn't just have the second. I never understand why they don't have the second, like the backups right at ringside if something were to happen. So I don't think he should have been allowed to fight after that. Like they should have just changed him out between rounds. But it is what it is. I don't think that would have really changed the outcome of the fight. As for against Jermell Charlo, I think that would be a good fight. Definitely a clash of styles. I favor Jermell Charlo just because I just think he's a bigger guy, and I think he might be able to. I don't know. That's tough, because I was gonna say he might be keeping on the end of the jab, but Jermell Charlo likes to bang too. I lean Charlo, but I think it might be closer than people think.
Hey, good stuff. Well, Run, thank you very much for joining us, man. We'll catch you the next time, brother.
All right, that's it.
All right, peace. Drew, tell us what you thought, man. Wait, did you already? Yeah, did you already?
Yeah, but
sorry, brother.
I think Crawford beats Jermell Charlo.
All right, Georgie, you've heard what everybody else has to say. What do you think, brother?
Yeah, I thought it was a good performance. It looked to me like he was getting the rounds in. He didn't look like he was in trouble. Did he get hit? Yes, Crawford does get hit in most of his fights. It is boxing. It's not patty cake, so guys are gonna get hit. I wasn't too worried. Yeah, there you go, Drew. Patty cake, Baker's man. But I mean, some people were making a deal out of it. Him getting hit. I mean, he gets hit all the time, and that's what happens with Crawford. He sits there. he makes himself a little vulnerable because he knows he can and he's not a no threat, and that's kind of his game plan. He reels you in a little bit, lets you get a little confidence, and then he starts hooking away, throwing uppercuts, switches to the southpaw, goes to the body, and he does that very well. So a good performance. I didn't expect the knockout. That shit happened super quick. It was nice. Like I mean, I hope I don't get in trouble for this, but I tried to stream it as much as I could, or try to be fair. But I was at work in between, and I did catch at the moment that I was able to get the stream going, and it was a nasty knockout. Good performance. As far as Jermell, I think that would be a really good fight to make. And I'm with Drew on this, man. I've always been really high on Crawford. I know maybe at 147, maybe his resume isn't as shiny as he was at 140. But I really don't know who to blame. Is it his promoter or nobody really wants to try to fight him at 147? We know that they've been playing catch there at 147. Errol Spence he needs to get this, he needs to do that, and they finally gets this and he gets that, and still the fight don't get made. So I don't know if that fight happens ever at 147, the Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. But I mean, if we're talking about Jermell and Crawford, I think it'd be one of those really good fights. Both guys are very vulnerable. Both guys get hit a lot, and I think it just come down to endurance and toughness, and whose gas tank will get them to the end.
Man, that's good stuff. Drew, any final thoughts before we sign off, man?
Like I look at it like this. It would be hard. It's still a PBC, and it'd be harder to make the fight Jermell Charlo because Al Haymon ain't gonna want to pay Terrence Crawford. If you look at last Errol Spence's 5 opponents, they all at least had 30% of the purse. And Terrence Crawford was being offered a below purse split than all of them. And he was actually being offered a 25% purse split versus 75% in favor of Errol Spence, which is ridiculous because Terrence Crawford is better than every fighter on that past 5 fighters list and everything. So, and tell you the truth, a couple of them weren't even champions.
Bro, you know what? I'll tell you what. It bugs me that we can't even talk about how Crawford and Spence are both available to fight right now. For some reason, everybody's just under the assumption that they can't put a fight together right now. But, I mean, if they were really looking towards making that fight at the beginning of next year anyways, like, I don't know why these guys just don't get back into negotiations in earnest and actually try to hammer out this fight and have it be made. It's bizarre to me.
Well, the PBC and now Heyman, they ruined boxing. They don't want, like, the thing about it is they always think that they have to be the number one entity, but they haven't been putting up good fights in a long ass time. And the issue is they don't want to do business with other promoters. They don't want to do business with other networks. And you possibly will make more money doing business with other networks because you're not making no money on your own doing pay-per-views. Like, too many guarantee contracts, and you got to have pay-per-view fights or to be able to pay these guys. They'll guarantee money. And when you you average 50, like below 50K or 100K in pay-per-view buys, that's not going to pay these guarantee contracts, and you end up owing people money. And Al Haymon, I won't be surprised if he owes people money still. And I wouldn't be surprised by this time next year when we're talking about the sale of the PBC.
Well, I want to give a special thanks to Drew Evo, who took the time to join us, man, and give us his hot takes. Y'all got to catch up to Shoe Shine and the rest of the Al Chile crew. Georgie with Off the Ropes Boxing and MMA, Nopal, Boxeanos, and the hired gun of Al Chile. Run, PMC. I want everybody to have a good week, man, and we will catch you next time. Peace.